to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road to Growth listeners. Today I have John Medina, something in my own little house. He is the owner and founder of John Medina Buys Houses, fix and flip, renovations, wholesaling, the whole 9 yards. Thank you, John, for being here.
Hey, Vinny, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
So we talked about it before we got on camera. I mean, how in detail your process is. And John threw it out there that people are going to get tired, get fed up, turn it off. Yet, I want to say if let's say you're in an elevator with someone, John, how would you describe your business to them in that elevator ride?
I would say that we're basically a company that buys houses directly from people.
Okay.
A lot of times it's not with a realtor, and we fix them up when we sell them. It's just pretty basic. That's not kind of the elevator pitch, right?
Okay.
Fix and flip. That's kind of what we do.
Perfect. Well, so have you, at a young age, I mean, were you in the real estate business? Were you in anything to do with real estate, or who was a young John?
Well, that's really interesting because a young John, I started, man, I really look back and I started working when I was like 14, and I worked on some local fishing boats here in town, San Pedro. So I live in the port, right? So kind of learned some skills there. Like you go out, they let you on the boat for free. Whatever you caught, you were able to kind of sell in the parking lot to make some money. And that kind of got you back on the boat for the next day to have some food without having to bug my parents, right? So kind of started out at a young age, like being an entrepreneur. And that was interesting because the stuff that I did back then, even negotiating with people over fish, stuff that you do in real life when you're an entrepreneur, right? At least buying and selling houses, so to speak. So started out at that age, and then, but to fast forward, kind of, after high school, I got into plumbing. So kind of a year out of high school, I got into plumbing, and I just basically another thing. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to be a plumber, I'm going to learn this business, and then I'm going to go on my own because I really wasn't cut out to be, a 9-to-5 guy, a company guy. So anything that I ever did, I always wanted to make sure that there was a way I could have my own business. And so I got into plumbing. I worked for about 4 years for, brings me like where I'm about 22 now. And I felt like I had enough knowledge to go on my own. So I basically just went on my own when I was 22 and just started hustling side jobs. And, my grandma had a friend, or you had a friend. I got a lot of referrals from realtors and people. And I started my own plumbing business. And that kind of took me, oh man, for about 25 years, I was just in plumbing,
Wow.
Then come about I think about 2009, I had some money saved and I wanted to buy some rental units because that was just what I thought you should be doing if you got extra money. And I started just kind of doing some research in kind of the real estate space about how to buy houses for a discount. How can I leverage the money I had instead of buying one house, the traditional way? How many could I buy with the amount of money I had? So I figured I better get educated. So I kind of took a class in 2009, like one of those weekend courses. And from there, didn't do anything for about 3 years. And then kind of just sat on it. And I just kind of had a baby, and I was just kind of sitting around, just spinning my wheels. So about 2012, I go, man, I got to do something. The market's good. There's a lot of opportunities out here. Things kind of stopped going down like they were. And I go, I'm going to jump in. So I took another boot camp from a guy named Bruce Norris out in Riverside. And I went there for the weekend, 3 days during the week, and learned a lot of stuff, right? And I go, man, I'm ready to go. Well, I didn't do anything again. So about 6 months later, I took the same course, and about halfway through the course, which was only 3 days, I was like, what am I doing, man? You got all this information. You're just scared, so take a chance. So got out of there in July of 2012, hit the ground running, and I bought my first, house to keep as a rental over here in Wilmington, California. And I liked it. I just figured it out, started going there, and my construction skills really paid off on the construction side of things. I was going to keep it for a rental, so I didn't have to know that much about it, right? I got it for a really good price and refied out of it and had a rental. And then I was like, man, maybe I could do that again. So I went ahead and bought another one. Probably about a year's time, I bought 4 houses, and I started I had a couple that I was keeping as rentals, and then I started flipping them too. So I was like, man, this is actually easier than plumbing. And I kind of liked it more because plumbing was getting a little old, just for the plain reason that I've been doing it for so long. So took a chance in 2013. I said, you know what? About halfway through the year, the business got a little slow, probably because I was focused more on real estate. You know, you tend to kind of like your mind kind of, your business kind of takes you where your mind is, right? So I just told my wife, I'm going to go full time into real estate. And then 2014, I just basically burned the boats and I said, man, I'm a full time real estate investor. And that's where I'm at. You know, this is kind of, that's how I started.
Well, it's a couple of things to rewind back to. The first thing, you talked about the classes. You took the classes. I mean, one of the things that I always tell people that I think is really surprising, one of the biggest investors in San Diego County makes more money on their classes than they do on their flips.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of people out there, I think, that take the classes, but they're like you, where they're afraid to actually take the step forward. So just by taking the step forward, so I mean, you can take as many classes as possible out there, anyone listening, but you have to take that first step, just like John did. And then you talked about it with the idea of the rentals, and you're having the rental income. And then when you're thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to start doing fix and flips, what kind of financing were you doing? Were you doing hard money? Were you doing cash? Or what was the buy-in right there?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, what I did is I had another funny story. I had a guy that I met in 1980 in junior high school. Guy Robert was his name, and I went to high school with this junior high with this guy, and I hung out with him for a long time, after high school. His dad he always told me his dad had a lot of money, and he was a welder, right? But his dad was like just always working all the time. Well, anyways, fast forward, and when I want to get into this business, I was like, man, I need some cash to do this, and so I went. His dad's name's Bob. I just went and asked him, hey, I know you invest money, and just kind of hit him up and said, would you loan me some money, and get right to the point. And he's like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. How much you need? So that's how my relationship started. So I just had to basically go out and ask for it. It was right in front of me, right? It was just right there. A guy I met years ago, and the dad really liked me. So he was like, he's a really good friend of mine. He was like, now he is, and over the years he was like, he's your friend's dad, but he was like a single guy. So you could always kind of like you always kind of looked up to him because he always got, he was out there doing his thing. So anyways, and he was really cool. So it was just funny that I just asked him, and he's like, oh, I do that all the time. Yeah, now I probably have like about a $3 million line of credit with them, I would think, at any given time.
I mean, when you started doing the fix and flips, I mean, the market was, fairly going up.
Yeah.
I mean, what were the hurdles in switching over from buying the property as a rental compared to buying a property, renovate, and resell? What was the differences for you?
Not much, because I was buying some pretty beat up properties.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was pretty much, I'm kind of a perfectionist, and even with my product I have right now, as far as like, and my wife's involved with it too. Then I have a partner, Ricky, that's a real estate agent, but we kind of handle the flips, and he handles a lot of the other stuff, right? But on these flips, I mean, I'm just very much like kind of like a perfectionist, but I always want to do the right thing. That's a part of our core values as a company. So I'm always like going up and beyond when we fix these houses up. So when I bought these houses, they were complete dogs, and I just basically just got in there, and anything that needed to be fixed, I fixed it. I'm not one of those guys that put, like, what do they say, lipstick on a pig? That's not me. If I see mold, I get rid of it. Everything I'm doing is I want to be able to sleep at night, so I put out a real quality product. So I started out that way, and I haven't changed it. Because I look at it, it's like, I kind of look at it, don't get me wrong, we're in here to make money, but I'm not going to save $1,000 that might cost me $50,000 in a lawsuit. A lot of people make that mistake. They're looking at the bottom line money, and so am I. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, if there's something, I'm not going to sell a family knowingly sell something to somebody that's going to cause problems or make them sick or just that's just not how I operate. So
I mean, the lawsuits, if you're listening right now, I mean, they can be drastic and huge. I mean, I've heard of a lot of different investors, and yeah, that can cut on your bottom line at the end of the day, right there.
And if you're going to make a mistake, you probably don't want to make a mistake on your first one.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing, is that everybody's, people want to get into this game. It's fast, it's sexy, it's on the TV. Everybody sees big checks coming in. And, it's always like, it's kind of like you have to do, it's like you have to do a volume of work, right? It's just not one deal. It's what you do at the end of the year, how many deals you do. It's kind of like a volume thing. If you're just doing one deal and think, it's not a get rich quick scheme. That's for sure.
Now, how are you coming across your properties that you were purchasing to renovate and resell?
Yeah, that's another great question. So what we do a lot of online marketing. So we do, run ads on Google through SEO, pay-per-click. So we're reaching directly out to people that want to sell their house, whatever search term they put in. And then we have a whole sales process that we run them through.
Was that what you originally started with when you first got into the fix and flipping?
Well, yeah, back then it was like when I first got in, like at the beginning, short sales were it was just really easy. Short sales were abundant, and you could just get an agent that had connections, and I would buy short sales. So that lasted for about maybe a year and a half. And then after that, I started sending postcards out.
Okay.
And then no one was sending not as many people were sending postcards out in 2014, 15. So it was almost like that. At the beginning this was too good to be true. The competition was lower. I had some really, really like great experiences with people, and it was still close enough to the pain was still being felt by that Great Recession, to where they didn't want people that want properties, right? So it was a different ball game. And then all of a sudden things switched. People jumped back in the game. Instead of somebody getting, like, say 2015, they got maybe 1 or 2 mailers a month. All of a sudden around 16, they got like 6, maybe compounded all the way to where we are now. Some people might be getting 20, 30 cards a month or whatever it is.
If you need kindling, go to a house that had an NOD file on the property.
There you go. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So started out with mail. The mail, mail worked for it did pretty good. But then as we started developing the website more, Facebook ads, more digital stuff we went to, so.
How do you step back? Because you're doing something good, right? You're getting the short sales, right? And then you have to pivot, to postcards. Then you pivot to online. Was it, okay, we're not getting as much traction we were getting? Was it really quick? Or is it, hey, we just not putting enough time or effort into this original platform? Or is it we're trying everything and anything, as long as we get a return off, we'll keep doing it?
Yeah, and that's great. Another great point. I mean, that's what we did. We shifted a lot, right? It was like when I did the short sales, I was all by myself. So it was think of it this way: short sale, you're a realtor, you hook me up with people that are in short sales. I don't have to take the phone call. I'm pretty much just fixing and flipping. I'm not talking to sellers. I'm not doing anything, right? Then all of a sudden, now you send out postcards. Now all of a sudden you become a salesman. So you're a fix and flip guy that has to be a salesman all of a sudden, right? And then that's a little bit of a different transition, because my joke is that I used to have a tape measure in my hand, and I'm measuring something, and as like a rehabber, now the phone's ringing. Do you drop the tape and pick up the phone? Most people are going to pick up the phone, right? Because that's the personality, right? But I'm kind of more of a rehabber, so I'll get back to it, or whatever would happen. Or I pick up the phone and I'm not ready to take a call, right? So a lot of this stuff was just like I don't know, it was just like quite, a lot of trial and error. And then you go, okay, well, I'm not gonna I'm gonna get a sales team and have them handle the calls, and that's kind of where we're at now. But I mean, I've done, you probably know these terms, RVM, right? Where you just send out a bunch of, ringless voicemails with people. We texted people, like cold call. I tried it all. And after trying everything all, I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna run digital ads. I think it just fits better in my what I like to do. I like people calling us up that are interested in selling, instead of me maybe, cold calling them and texting people. And I'll probably send out some mail again. I'm just kind of taking a little time off, because there's no ROI at this point. I'm hoping we're done.
You talked about the idea before we got on mic about that you've been building your platform, building your team, and like your wife has a company that parallels with yours. I mean, that you have a lot of these other platforms that coincide with your main core business. I mean, how did those venturing off of these other companies kind of come about?
Yeah, that's what happened there is that I had a company that was holding the rentals, right? So that's it was called JYC Enterprises, and I brought my partner Ricky on that. So I brought Ricky into JYC Enterprises. It was already set up, an LLC. So basically, I don't own the rentals. I sold the rentals to get more capital to kind of raise this up. We just started kind of running all the sales and marketing through this JYC Enterprises, which is doing business as John Medina Buys Houses, right? So that's where the sales and marketing, that's where all the sales and marketing is coming from now. But at the beginning, we just kept everything in one company. It was really hard to keep track of, because you're doing sales and marketing, and then as you fix and flip, you're just it's just pretty much like a washing machine of deals in, deals out, and it was so hard to keep track of the marketing, and it was just really hard to keep track of. So what we did is we're like, okay, sales and marketing in one company. When we buy the house, we'll set up another company that's basically like a holding company called Upfront Home Buyers. So we just do all the fix and flips through. That's who owns the properties, okay? And then I had the plumbing company set up called MPC Inc., which is a construction company. So I basically just flipped that over more to a construction company because it was already set up with credit and everything with it. And so that's what fixes up the properties and pretty much creates an invoice to the holding company. So that's who does all the fix and flips is my construction company that I've had for years, right? Then my wife is an interior designer, so we set up a company for her for interior design. So that you need interior design to do these projects if you want to do them right.
So how many of these companies, right, are you actually looking at the books, part of their daily routine, or what does a weekly routine, a monthly routine look like regards to these different companies?
Yeah, and that's where I'm at now. It's like I'm really focusing on just being the CEO. That's like I'm in a couple of masterminds, and I'm with different people. And the big focus is that one of our masterminds is just to be just to be a CEO. And I've been working real hard on that. And so what I do is my routine is like every day I have something that I do with basically I'll go through on Monday. We just have meetings for all those 4 companies on Mondays. That sets the tone for the week. So I'm in there on Mondays, really looking at the numbers or whatever I feel I need to look at on Monday. And then like Tuesdays I go out to the jobs to see how everybody's doing. Wednesday I go out to the jobs. I'm on maybe one of my mastermind calls. Thursday, which just happened to be the day that we're talking, it's bookkeeping day. So I'm in the office all day looking at the numbers. And then Friday it's kind of like go out to the jobs or just kind of leave it open. So my main thing is that I'm just really trying to focus on culture. People, hiring the right people, and then numbers, right? So that's all I'm trying to do in all those companies. I'm just trying to focus on creating the right culture for my employees so that they want to work for us and they feel good working here. And and then definitely hiring the right people. Because if I don't have the right people doing these particular tasks, I'm going to be right back in there doing it, and I'm going to screw it all up. Because I'm just not something I'm good at. I'm not good at everything.
What's been your biggest learning curve out of all those different factors?
The biggest learning curve is probably just came in the last 6 months. It's just been like, stay out of the way. Don't be a bottleneck. Don't bottleneck your company. Don't bottleneck your people. Hire the right people. Train them. You got to train them like there's no tomorrow. We just brought on someone named Stephanie to be like a follow-up specialist to follow up on all the leads we have. We trained her for 2 weeks before we even put a phone in her hand. That's huge, right? Really want her to know what she's doing, how to operate all these, the CRM we have and the phone system, and just really taking our time training her to set her up for success. Because I think in the past we would just hire somebody and we'd expect within, we'd onboard them, and then on Monday and then on Tuesday you're like, just go for it. And then no accountability, no meetings, like no trainings, no check-ins. Just like, well, what are you doing here, man? You're not getting any deals. Well, we didn't train you. That comes right back to me as the CEO, right? I take full responsibility. I'm not setting people up with success. So now we're real big on that.
How long did it take you to realize that?
Well, let's see. I'd basically say I'm going to say about 6 years. Really, it took because when you start out, you're grinding. You're just in the middle. You're just things are just flying at you. You're either like a hockey goalie where the whole team's just firing on you. You're just trying to not hit anything in the net, or you're basically like. Then all of a sudden it's like in the game. In a game, everything kind of slows down, and you're able to kind of like everything kind of like when everything kind of slows down, you're able to make better decisions. And I think when you're right in the heat of it and you're doing a lot of the stuff yourself, you don't realize it. You just keep going and going and going, and you're just basically bottlenecking your company, because every time someone has a problem, they come to you and you just take it from them. You're not allowing them to figure it out. You didn't give them the training and the stuff that they need to be successful. And then at the end of the day, everybody's just handing you all their stuff, and then you're not growing. You just handcuffed everybody, and it's just there's just no growth there.
With all the knowledge you've accumulated over the years, is there any advice that you wish you would have knew or known when you first started flipping?
Yeah, and I thought about this I think it was today. It's like you have to really look at this as an investment. right? Because I mean, you really have to look at this like your business as an investment. You're gonna basically start out, and it depends on where you are, how much capital you have. At the beginning, if you don't have the money to pay people, you're not well capitalized, and you don't, and you're just fighting to stay alive. You're gonna have to do a lot of stuff yourself, right? But as you start making money and you set it aside, you're going, I'm going to invest in people, and your business will grow. And you have to just realize that I'm going to invest in these people to make it easier on me. And then you have to, and it's mindset too. You really have to really just, shift your mind and know that, okay, I'm trusting in the process. And that's a big thing too. You got to have the processes set up in the systems to allow people to allow people to flourish, allow people to, be successful. And that starts with having core values in the company. I mean, if you don't have any core values in your company, everybody's just gonna like you're just basically, everybody's just running around doing whatever they want. If there's a problem, you go to the core values and you go through, you can solve something really easy to look at your core values and say, okay, I'm doing this, but you know what? That's one of our core values is do the right thing. So are you really doing the right thing? And then people go, well, kind of, they're trying to, no, we do the right thing here. We put people over money. That's a big one, right? I mean, you're saying that you're going to put your customers, people, or even employees over money. So sometimes sometimes you have to make a decision that might cost you some money, but you're still doing the right thing, and you're putting the people first, right? So by establishing all that, you start drawing people to you that want to work in that culture. They want to be around you. They want to work for you, because there's enough people out there that aren't doing that basically just we're basically trying to rip people off. They're really looking at the money more than they're looking at like doing the right thing. And if you do the right thing, the money will show up.
I mean, so there's a number that's, I think, just that's crazy in the real estate market, at least in San Diego, that there's more realtors than properties that were sold in like 2019. Basically, so there's a lot of realtors out there that get a license. They see that maybe it's easy, or they think that it's easy for themselves. I mean, I know it's not to that degree for investors, yet there's it seems like at least more and more people wanting to get into the investing game. With the people that you're training and putting the time in, putting the effort in, allowing them to kind of grow, how do you also want them, or how do you push them, or not push them, but how do you keep them from leaving and going on their own to doing the investing themselves and not staying with you?
Yeah, and that's just the risk you take when you hire people that are really good and really accountable. I mean, that can happen, right? And that hasn't happened to me yet, because I'm at a point where I think some of the people that we've kind of just hired, they've been, I think, a year and a half or so since we really kind of like started going up. But I was that way with my plumbing business, right? I mean, I worked for 2 companies in maybe a 4.5 year period. And once I got good enough, I was gone. So I kind of welcome that. I look like I think if somebody's really, really good and they want to go on their own and they're hungry, those are the type of people maybe that you want working for you. And if they choose to leave, as long as they do it ethically and they don't steal your people or whatever's going on, I mean, wish them luck. And I would be rooting for them. I'd be excited for them. As long as they don't do anything unethical to me. I think there's a lot of people that work for people. And they want to go on their own. They steal their clients. They do all kind of stuff. No, that's not cool. I don't condone that with anybody, right? That goes against my core values. But I mean, if someone's gonna, I always looked at, I always went on my own. At least I did for plumbing. And my employer was mad. Both of them were mad because I was a good worker, but I had to go and I had to do what I had to do. So I kind of encourage that in a way, because you're getting someone that's gonna.
Where do you see? Let's say we're talking in 5 years from now, where do you see your business going, and where do you see the market going? Do you see because I mean, people listening right now on our podcast, you'll know that a couple months back, Zillow got out of, or at least put on hold, got out of the investing game right there. So it seems like more of these bigger entities are having the idea at least to jump into the investing game. Where do you see the market going, let's say 5 years from now?
Well, I can't answer that, because I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball, right? Yeah. I mean, I really do. 5 years from now, I don't really. I mean, you're in California. California is different than the rest of the nation. California goes in cycles, so I try to pay attention to people that I think are trusted, and then buy their reports, read what's going on. And I don't think anybody's talking about 5 years. I just know that like some of the stuff I'm hearing is like But I've been hearing this, believe it or not, I've been hearing this since 2012. This was gonna end since 2012, the upswing and everything that was happening. But I do know, so it is gonna end, right? It's just when. So I'm just, here's the thing that I'm looking at is like, if I buy a property, I want to make sure that I'm buying it at a good enough price that I can know that if there is a correction, I'm not gonna get wiped out. The problem with Zillow is that Zillow and some of these other people were buying properties way too high. They had no clue what they were doing. Guys like other guys that I know were buying properties and selling them right to Zillow. They were laughing all the way to the bank. Zillow was paying like really almost like they were paying like almost like what we call retail, which is fine. Retail is everywhere. That's what most of the market's made of. But retail minus the commissions, and they think they're going to turn around and sell it. And they were purely, I mean, we're all speculating in this game, but they were heavily speculating, thinking that they're going to buy it like 94 cents on the dollar, and then they didn't, maybe their thought was that within 4 months it's going to go up 30%, and they're going to make their split on, they're going to make their margin on that, and the margin they're looking to make is thin because they have a lot of money that they have to spend, right? So that just proved they kind of proved the model wrong. They did it all wrong, but they have enough money to where it's like, they lost like $321 million or something crazy like that. They're still in the game.
Yeah, they sell they have properties out here this way that they're still selling off. But yeah, I mean, for anyone looking to get in the investor game, make sure you do your numbers right, comp it out. I mean, because that can really play a big factor when you're doing that. Just like, yeah, John's talking. Well, John, if someone's listening and they have a property maybe that they, want to sell, not to deal with the headache of working with a realtor, not pay any kind of fees like that, what's the best way of them finding more information about your guys' company?
Yeah, they can just Google us, John Medina Buys Houses.com, right? And they can get on there. They can fill out a form. Then there's a phone number on there too, 310-928-9688. And then Peggy, she answers the phone most of the time. I have Stephanie too, but we answer the phone live. That's our main goal, unless they're on the other line. And yeah, we just have a quick conversation with us, and that's just it's no pressure. It's just pretty much see if we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us, and then that's just kind of how it works.
How many states do you guys work in? Do you guys are looking at expanding in the future? Have you thought about that?
Well, we just expanded throughout California, so that's our newest thing right now. Okay. We went from being like in like LA, Orange County, to kind of like we are statewide now. We just went statewide just recently. We're going to try to do it because I don't think it'll be that much harder because we're in the same state that we operate out, right? If that goes well, then we'll start moving up the coast a little bit, and maybe kind of we do talk a little bit about going nationally, but we're going to try California first. So that's kind of the big picture, is like maybe eventually we end up being national, but at this point we want to go from like LA, Orange County to to all of California. So we're actively doing that now.
How do you? And I guess this is probably good for anyone listening right now. How do you vet the right contractors? I'm guessing you're not going to have your teams drive if it's in Northern California to do a reno, or would you?
Yeah, well, we would. I have we have people up there we could JV with.
Okay.
Maybe in that situation, we'll get a trusted partner, maybe to wholesale it too.
Okay.
Right. I think like something in Northern California. I know that's one thing about doing this for a while. You meet a lot of people all over the nation, and then we have a lot of contacts in California. So we would probably just reach out to one of our local trusted partners and say, hey, you want to do a JV with us, or is this something you might want to take down yourself? And they say, yeah, and then say, okay, well, this is kind of this wholesale fee. So we're creative that way. I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah, if you're listening right now and you're not really fully sure if everything he's throwing out there is just the idea is he'll get a property locked up at a agreeable price that the sellers want to take on, and then transfer an ownership during probably escrow, or maybe even close on and then sell it afterwards.
Yeah.
Price makes money.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Sometimes we just close on them, and it depends on the situation. Maybe it's just paint and carpet. We'll do it ourselves. We'll just, you can do a lot of stuff virtually now. And I had a hard time with that. That's another one of my biggest mind shifts. I was not big on this virtual thing for a long time. And, mindset wise, I was really holding myself back and my company. And that's another huge epiphany I had lately. It's like, man, what was I thinking? And I know a lot of people doing it virtually from all over. I just wouldn't open my mind up to it. And then it was just it was like last month, I was on a call with a bunch of guys that are doing it. And I'm like, I was just on a Zoom call. And it's like, wait a minute, like they're doing it. Why I could do it too. It's just, your mind is your biggest, your thoughts are what's holding you back from
you don't know what's possible until you give yourself the ability to try it out. And also you've been having great success at a way of doing it. So to change, I mean, why mess up a good thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. But it's like, as an entrepreneur, you want to keep growing too. You want to new challenges. You want to try to figure stuff out. And it's like, maybe it's easier if you go all through Cal. That's my thought now. I think it's easier if we're through the whole state than we are in just one area. We'll have more opportunities. We'll be able to serve people better. And that's true. That's something that's big too. It's just not about us growing. It's like we have to keep that level of we've got to keep that level of customer service. That's huge for us. And if you Google us, we have great reviews. Why? Because we really care about our customers, right? And there's a lot of people out there that are listening that when you start out, it's like everybody's chasing deals. I mean, we don't really chase deals anymore. We don't have to, because people are like, we get a lot of referrals now too, because it's like, man, we did such a good job with these people that they're referring their friends. I never thought that would happen. I used to think this was like a one-time deal, right? You buy somebody's house and you kind of move on, and it's kind of nice. I mean, I think we're on like the third or fourth person that we're talking to off of someone 6 months ago. He just started telling his people, his friends, his circle of friends, and they're like, "Oh, that was that easy, man. Let's try it ourselves." And then
when you find a good product, a good company, I mean, especially in the business that John's in, I mean, you're going to want to tell your friends. I mean, not everyone is willing or even wanting reviews out there. So if you look a lot of, I guess, investor companies, wholesaler companies out there, try to find reviews for them, and you'll be surprised. Not all of them will have reviews out there, because maybe not all their experiences as golden as John's are. So I appreciate you, John, for being here. Hopefully everyone listening, I mean, got some great nuggets right there. Yes, I think John made it for the most part. I mean, fairly easy, straightforward, but I could only imagine a lot of hiccups throughout the way. And he had a background in construction, so that kind of helps a little bit too, to kind of cut down your margins when you're first getting there. So I appreciate you, John, for being here. Hopefully everyone listening again got some great nuggets. Please subscribe, please share, and go find John. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me, man. I had a great time. Thanks, man.
You too.